And what is this? Good afternoon, I guess. Collective 109 on the clock. So I'm trying to think of how. I guess it's just gonna flow. I guess like always, right? So ever since like I was a kid, man, I've always had like somebody. I used to have sleep paralysis real bad, right? And there would be like dark thoughts after that or whatever that I would transmute the energy. I've been transmuting my entire life, so it ain't no thing to me. It's been, it just all it has done is increase in volume. So I've always had like some karmic masculine energy, toxic, hella toxic, hypersexual, everything about sex, and I've always had that energy, body jumping around people around me. And lately, I noticed an influx, right, of a dying energy. The energy is dying, it's getting weaker, and it's jumping in it because the thing is that this energy the devil energy is going to always attack the weakest vessel in the crowd, right? So there are people who have invited this energy, and they are suffering out loud, screaming out and stored, like talking loud and not using their inside voice, and need to be stepping outside, and on the outside they're screaming, they're screaming demons. And it's just like, I mean, I've been subjected to a wide array of inappropriate situations, both physically, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? And it all had to do with something like SA, rape on some level or another. It was definitely not wanted, not invited. And at some point in my life, I was weak into it. I did not succumb to it because I was never truly out of control. And I was like, I don't even know if I could call it, like, just thinking back on it, because there's been so much projection on me, thinking, trying to make me feel like I was like way less than what I am. Like the word hoe is highly significant. Is actually a mindset and a way of life. Like what people think is a hoe is not a woman who is comfortable with her sexuality. Now, mind you, like, I did sleep with some questionables. And shit, who hasn't? People who have slept with people they don't even fucking like. It's just like there was no conversation, there was nothing. It's just like, for me, there has to at least be a conversation to know that there's a possibility that you might not be a total psycho. So this energy is somebody who was only able to access me on everything but the physical, right? And the only way they could address me on the physical is by financial abuse, which is another part of, they were trying to siphon from my sacral, root chakra, and root energies, root chakras, and and so they were able to manifest for themselves off of just my energy, right? Because they couldn't get access to me physically, and they were being very accusatory and very overbearing, were pushing the narrative of me on a sexual way, right? And I had to, the projections made it seem a lot worse, even to me, because when somebody is that consistent and does that shit for that long, you eventually, like, I don't know, me personally, I feel kind of like, I kind of swayed to the left a little bit, or swayed whatever, in the opposite direction of, where the Most High put me. Now, I wasn't leaving people in shambles or anything like that. It wasn't anything like that. It was just like, I wasn't seeking revenge. I wasn't like doing anything on purpose. Just like, kind of whimsical, I guess. Wasn't like everything's, consensual. There was no seduction. There was nothing like that, right? It was just, whatever happens. That's how I was living life at one point. But it wasn't anything like hella calculated. But, looking back at it, I noticed there was always somebody always around trying to body shame, trying to slut shame. It could have been even from my first partner, it was that. So, and it was somebody, and I was like, most of the time I wouldn't be thinking about someone like that until, there was that kind of approach, right? Like there was certain rules of engagement. that somebody had to have to approach me like that. And there would have to be a conversation. Like at any point in time, there had to be a conversation. And so I had this toxic man, which I'm feeling like, it's an older masculine that was stalking my entire life, right? I'm gonna guess he's probably in his 50s, 60s now, and I have a feeling that this is one of my abusers from childhood. Someone who sexually accosted me, right, in my childhood, and followed me all the way through my adulthood to make sure I stayed quiet. That's what I wanted. That's what I'm like. What is coming to like some kind of, because like when you have that much pressure on you, when you're being attacked, financially abused and attacked that way, and you got somebody running into your jobs and screaming and costing you your job and directing everybody to your pages and only picking out the worst parts, and also trying to transmute the energy to distort your current energy, transmute the energy or distort the energy of what was said or posted on the page to what their energy actually is towards you, which is actual sabotage and hatred, just a pure hatred. Like this was a masculine who was in a very toxic, very karmic feminine energy, right? Running around screaming. You don't need, all that is not needed to get a point across. And if the issue is really with me, right, and something I did, then that would, that could have easily been resolved with me, because I've never been like a hard person to talk to, but yelling at me from across the room ain't gonna ever get it. Like that shit ain't gonna ever fly. So if don't come to me on some rah-rah stuff, and that's my boundary right there. It's just never gonna fly. And don't come to me on some rah-rah bullshit, because it's just like at the end of the day, you gonna walk away butt hurt, your feelings hurt, everything hurt, right? So like everybody has their boundaries, their limits, right? Their no-go, everything like that, right? And the whole thing is like I said, this dude has been projecting energy towards me since my prepubescent, my childhood years, right? There's always been sex around me, and it's just like, and I was also a late bloomer, so it's kind of like, all right. So I had, I guess there was a pile up of that nasty ass, creepy ass dude energy that piled up on me, and I succumbed to it. Like when I was going through some financial hardships, and like everything in my life was like kind of topsy-turvy at the moment. And I was with somebody I definitely should not have been with at the time too. Definitely. So that was another thing. And I was also kind of pushed out of my household by that same energy, because just like it was that, and there was like, it was always about money. It was always about, there was always like everybody in survival mode. And so it's just like, I know, and even at like, before I reached double digits in age, it was just like, I know this is not how life is supposed to be lived. You're not supposed to constantly be in survival mode, and then on top of that, I'm having sleep paralysis. And I'm not making excuses, but this is just showing how things can get to you. That's why I just like I've never been a judgmental person at any point in my life. I can't think of when I was sitting around just judging somebody. Like, because it's like I've always been like somebody willing to work on myself. I know I have faults too. I know everybody goes through their own journey and has their own set of obstacles. And it's just kind of sad to see people sitting around judging other people for what they do, and it's like their hands are just as dirty, but in a different way. And for people to be so supportive of somebody who could potentially be a rapist, a pedo, and just to come against me. And they, from what I'm understanding, from what I'm hearing through the grapevine, which how much can you really trust that information if you play telephone before you know what I'm talking about? The guy was a straight up bigot, right? And it's just like, yes, take this information from me that about this female that I absolutely fucking hate, and it shows, right? So just like somebody who hates you will fucking lie on point blank period. Like, I don't hate anybody. I don't even hate this motherfucker, and he is like completely tried to destroy my life, and in turn actually ended up destroying his own. But hey, it is what it is. That's not, definitely not a me problem. That is a him and whatever toxic feminine he actually did have with him. I'm also hearing dude had a complete set, a whole family. We never interacted before. Never been with this person before, and if I had, it's just like there was no drama when I left. It's just like, but it's just like, I guess now she knows who she was married to. And like, I don't know, like, I guess they stalk as a team, lose as a team or something. I don't really know the full details of what was going on, but there was also a few toxic feminines that were after me, and I'm pretty sure, like, I had no interaction with them or their husbands either. Just like, just toxic cult members, or maybe Masons and Eastern Stars or whatever that went haywire, because everything I feel like everything, these groups and everything, they all start off with some kind of good intention, and they don't just full blown just we're gonna go out and just be evil and try to keep people stuck, and I don't know, what is it, He-Man Woman Hater Club or whatever. Because we do have people who marry the opposite sex because, looks good on paper, looks good in society, and in these different clubs, they're down low and everything like that. And this is why, like, I just don't like anything that you didn't witness directly. For me, as far as I'm concerned, that's gossip. You didn't hear it from the horse's mouth, you didn't witness it directly. And then, especially when you're dealing with someone like myself, I'm still trying to sort out a whole bunch of stuff that happened in the past, right? Like, I know cause and effect, and I'm also still trying to figure out all the who is what in the past. So it's kind of like, gossip is like, if it didn't happen to you, if you weren't a part of the situation, then it's kind of like that's basically what it is. You aren't even part of it. You're just like, you're not even a messenger. You're just like somebody who's just in somebody else's business, in all honesty. And on top of that, especially if you have a large following, say, and that's how you get your likes or whatever. I don't do this shit for likes, clearly, right? I don't do it, like, I barely get views, I barely get likes, which I'm okay with that as long as the message reach the right people. And it's just gossip. It's just like senseless gossip, and it's like why is it so consequential to you to talk about this and can't call down judgment on somebody who never did anything to you, right? Because that's what a lot of people say, though she ain't did nothing. But it's like the whole point is to provoke you to act out of character and do something that you normally would not do, and which is also manipulation and spell work. Especially, like, okay, so the crappy thing about this situation is, like, the duplicity when they call out zodiac signs, when like, your main karmic, right? And of course, like, twin flame karmic, you would think that would be the hardest challenge, right? So they would have your same zodiac sign. So when they're calling down judgment on your twin flame, the toxic one, it's kind of like distorting, thinking it's you. That's why I'm like not really into calling out signs. It's just like, I just read. That's it. That's you can call it whatever energy you want to, but to avoid mess, because people miss the message because they're looking for mess. Oh, she called out this sign, and he called out this sign, and it's just like, okay, well, and there's not enough people who are willing to educate themselves on these different energies that these different signs bring, and they look for tarot card readers who are totally engulfed in what they're doing, to really take time and explain things. And so you kind of learn that way, but some people are so biased that they take it as one way and one way only, and that's how you get like these psychopaths running around, right? That think because they called out one sign on the good end, that means that they are completely right and true and just in everything that they do. But yeah, I don't do like the whole, because it's like they're also like, gossip is usually something, if it did happen, that means it's in the past. And like, oh, what they used to do? I'm like, but are they doing it now? Is that their business with me, right? Is that the pattern I'm seeing or the behavior I'm seeing towards me? Because maybe it was just you. maybe it's just you. And I could say the same for why people come at me the way I do. And it's just like, but you don't have to come at me at all, because we have had no interaction before. And then had you stepped to me correctly, right, or whoever that is, right, then it could have been like a beautiful union. But instead, a lot of people let the gossip of a dirty foot, right, stepping in those graveyards, trying to dig up bones, and like not ready for their skeletons to fall out, like be exposed in that same grave, right? Because it's just like, how can you follow somebody for so long and be sabotaging for so long and think your skeletons aren't going to fall out, or whatever. And yeah, it's like, it's like basically binding a bunch of people to somebody else's past. I'd rather, like talk about how you can help yourself out of these shitty situations, and how, prevention maybe, but, it's a lot of people aren't prevention focused, unfortunately, like, because the attention span is too short. It's very instant gratification these days. So it's like, help yourself out of the situation, and then you learn your lesson and move forward. Because if you're in the situation, then you're just there. Or if you're struggling with it, and you're just struggling, and if you don't know a way out, then you don't know, and you can come to one of these channels and educate, be educated, or self-educate in some way, and put your own twist on it even. And like, yeah, gossip, all it does is bind you to somebody else in the most toxic way fucking imaginable. Instead of like people taking the time out to actually get to know the person, have a conversation with her. If you don't click, then you don't click. Like, you have a vendetta on one person with the other group, a whole group of people, just based off of someone else's experience with them, and that person seems like a good person until their fucking mask falls off. It's just like, I'm not trying to like turn people against you. If that's who you rock with, that's who you rock with. But just like, a friend of an enemy is no friend of mine. Somebody keeps trying to make themselves my enemy. It's just like, of course they would use you to come, like, and try to talk to you, like, and to have some association with you to try to, on some revenge shit, try to get back at me. But I'm just like, I'm so immune, like, to a lot of shit right now. It's crazy. Like, betrayals, saw that coming. It's just like, okay, I already reinforced my spiritual self and my physical self for that. I'm like, I've become completely, really, more self-sufficient, on the self-sufficient end, minus a few things here and there. But it's just like, I'm ready to get up and go at any time. So it's like, and it's like, in the same breath, it's like, I'm also just living my best life. I'm living the life like I living life like it's golden, and it is golden. It's just like a matter of these parasites that are basically sucking off the energy of negativity. That's really all they can do. It's like, okay, so is that my business with you? Okay, then why are you speaking on it? It's like, I'm glad you're opinionated, but like, we got bigger problems to worry about. You have bigger problems to worry about. Some of these people who are sitting around judging me, and what I'm picking up off their energy, they got a whole Edo in their home, sitting on their lazy boy or something like that has, molested their nephew or something like that. And that's not funny. How did I mess up on that word? It must be a shut up spell, right? Hey, motherfuckers, the people love trying to shut us up. It's weird, but I'm like, dude, like, you're worried about who was with me consensually, but you're not worried about, who's out here trafficking, and they're trying to gaslight, trying to act like what the person who was doing things towards me wasn't trafficking. If you're sitting around telling people things that they have never had a conversation about with that person, you're essentially trafficking, especially if it's meant for them to be seen in a negative light. And that's the only thing you can tell them after all that time you've spent watching them, is the negativity. That's the only thing you recollected from any interaction with them, or lack thereof, and just like stalking from a distance or whatever, is the negativity. That's it. Not how they've grown from it, not how they healed from it. You could brag on how you did this person dirty, how you did XYZ to this person in great detail, but not how they transmuted the energy and healed from it. It's illusion, spell work. It's like, yeah, you did that, but what effect did it have? You did that. So why was why would somebody else be ashamed of what you did to them? You went out of your way to do them, and it still had minimal effect, right? The Most High Yahweh still stepped in and intervened, and now, the same demons you tried to put on me are now on your ass. That's how that works. It's like, that's why, like, people love saying, oh, you don't make eye contact, you don't look at me. It's like, because they're trying to look in your eyes and see what's going on with your emotions, right? Because you can read a person through their eyes, right? And gauge their emotion and where they are spiritually, right? Some people, they have to do that. And if you're a true spiritualist, if you're true to it, you could just feel it. It's like, yeah, it's a demon to my left. Oh, wait, to my 6, to my 5, to my 8, there's a fucking demon, just like I, just walk this direction, cross the street, kind of body scan people. You don't necessarily really have to look at them. It's an energetic scan. It's just like, nah, I think I'll pass. This one has too many. This person is gonna be hell-bent on misunderstanding. And it's just like, they say you're prejudging, but it's like, what are you doing but listening to what somebody else has to say and watching my videos and trying to make the connection there? It doesn't work. You got to know how to read energy and know how a person is really coming in for real. Because a person will keep that up. Like, how do you keep up on a crusade like that your entire fucking life? Or basically the majority of somebody else's life, until you're in the hospital bed. It doesn't make sense. Like, you don't have a life of your own. Like, dare them to talk about themselves and what they do with their life. And you'll see a huge difference. Like, oh, she swears she can cook, and she this and that shit. Like, and basically they're putting on display, like, all the things you would rather be doing than fucking with them. Than fucking having anything to do with them. And it just exposes them in so many ways. And then if you write, like, I've been writing like these excerpts on my page, and doing these videos and everything like this, and they can only take one thing, and that's my sexual energy, my sacral and root chakra energy, because that's as high as they can vibrate. That's the only takeaway they have. It's like, they always go back to what they do. So I'm like, okay, so you're with him. Like, I don't need to know about it, because I don't fuck with it. I don't fuck with that person. Like, I don't have shit to do with that person. So it's like, that's your clique. So you want me to feel like an outsider? Why do you keep including me in your conversation? I don't give a fuck. Okay, like, genuinely and truly, like, shut the fuck up. Like, stay away from me with that bullshit. Like, because it's like, it's really it's caustic when you're putting it into the atmosphere, and it's also caustic to your internal intestinal. Like, some of these people, I walk right past them, I swear it's on their breath. Their ancestors on their breath. And it's bad, man. Smells like wet dog and bologna. And it's just like, you can smell it. It have an energetic stench, and it's just like, it's a weird thing. Like, what is it, clairsentience? Like, because I have several different clairs as well. So it's just, and on top of being empathic, it's just like sensory fucking overload. And I'm just like, that's why I go recluse. Like, more often than not, it takes a special person for me to be like, want to be around them. And I guess that's why none of my situationships ever went further than them asking for the relationship, right? I mean, just being like, yeah, maybe next lifetime, because it's just like, but those just weren't my people. They were like my blessings and lessons for that timeline. And especially when you have a high level of intelligence, it's hard for an intelligent woman to like have a commitment with her, because it's just like, there's a different factors and everything like that. And there's different things that we think about in detail, like, how is this going to fit me, how is this going to fit them, benefit this, that, and the third. And like, for somebody like myself, you know, with the high intelligence, and like it's like I'm an all or nothing type person. When I have a commitment, even if I'm not serious about it, it's just like I'm not gonna be looking elsewhere. And that's like how my loyalty is set up, right? And it's like, how can I say, we're just not going to fall for the games, right? We're not going to go for the dumb shit. Say, oh no, that's just a man being a man. That's just, no, that shit just is not going to go. It's just like you can be here for a season, but you know, let it be up front that you are a seasonal person. Let a person know up front that, okay, you're not into committing right now, but you know, you want to keep somebody on ice and keep their life on hold so you can figure yourself out. It's just a no-go. No, it's just not the right time. How about that? Instead, we're not going to sit here and let you play games with us because for the sake of you providing us with security. You're just not going to fucking do it. And there's been situations just shit, I just left, you know, like I left every, you know, and I learned to start taking things with me. Like I cleanse, now I just cleanse. If I move in or like anywhere I leave, I make sure I don't leave, not even a bobby pin, like nothing, bonfire, boom. If we had it together, in the trash. I'm like, I do some kind of cleansing to it if it's something that is not as expendable as the other things. But yeah, I've never been somebody to live in the past. I'll talk about my past and express my feelings about my past, but I'm not traumatized from it. I do have some CPTSD, which is slowly subsiding, and I'm becoming more patient, tolerant, and understanding, because that's how you get over these incidents. That's how you get over these these stagnations. These are mental stagnations, mental blockages that you haven't had enough time to recover or haven't taken the care for yourself to get over and recover from. And and sometimes you act out, and it doesn't always look like what people think it would look like, and some of my recluse time is just like me healing from a CPTSD episode, from spiritual attacks. And spiritual attacks comes from also constantly talking about some shit that you have already walked away from, like, yeah, that shit is dead to you, but then here comes some dumb shit that wants to come around and keep talking about it repeatedly, trying to trigger CPTSD in you because they want to see you act out of character. Like how they say the black girl attitude. I've had a lot of people try to get that out of me. That shit is not in me, okay? It's just, I'll walk away from you and ignore you so quick, like, and leave you feeling so useless and inadequate, which is basically what you are if you're standing around gossiping and talking about somebody's past. I'm like, well, what can we do for the future? Like, what do you have plans, motherfucker? Like, what are your plans? Like, I don't really plan, but I don't plan to be talking about my past. Like, if somebody wants to have like a calm, cool, collected conversation, kind of interview style, and pick my brain or whatever, not to use it against me in the future, because bitches have tried that too. And where are they now? Irrelevant in my fucking life still. It's just like the tricks of the devil, right? They try it so much. People have platforms, and these tarot card readers, it's just like they go from quoting the Bible to fucking having a whole gossip column. And it's just like, I understand that you have to protect your darkness and your light, and your darkness protects your light. But when the person isn't attacking you, you're just, you're picking up on their energy somehow because somebody came to you with it, right? Like this, me, I'm not in anybody's energy. I might be in one or two other people's energy, right? And that's it. And maybe, that I somehow imprint on the people I work with or encounter, like if it's on a consistent basis, that's the only time I'm really in somebody else's energy. And that's not, willingly and by choice. It's just like, it kind of goes with the territory of like something being transactional. We're in each other's energy. Just deal with it, right? And yeah, like some of these readers are not readers. It's just like they're gossip columnists, and it's just like it's almost quite sickening, right? Because they'll use their platform to try to be destructive towards someone else. But I was like, I thought this shit, like, weren't you just like reading from the Bible, but the Bible does come off as very judgmental and always calling judgment on something. But the point is, it's supposed to be a preventative measure, and also like it's also a healing measure too. But that's what gifted people are here for. If they're if the Bible's a preventative measure, then okay, the spiritualists are here to help you heal. Otherwise we wouldn't have the ability to heal ourselves and each other, right? Or other people. And there's many different ways to heal. You can heal with your voice, you can heal with your hands, you can heal with your mind, you can heal with your energy. Like I walk, usually I walk around some people, they get a boost of energy. Now what they want to do with that energy, or they want to do some fuck shit, that's on them. That's their karma that they're accumulating, thinking they're bringing me karma. No, you're not. You're building up your own shitty karma, and I've seen it. And I don't feel bad about it. Sorry, but I don't apologize. Yeah, it's like it's best that instead of listening to gossip, you take the scenic route. You know what I mean? Like I'm like about to do a cleanse of my, like I suggest too that a lot of people do this, because it's just like you got a lot of residue kind of floating around your algorithms. Due to your history. Your watch history is not to hide anything, but it's your watch history and your subscriptions. There's some people just need to be cleansed out of your algorithms, because what's in your algorithm is gonna determine what comes across your page, your timeline, and like when the student is ready, the teacher shows, right? The teacher appears. And I've been picking up on some new content, just and it's like this was stuff I looked for like before my journey, but because I wasn't ready for it, that I had to go on my search bar for it, like I had to Google it. But now, I don't know if that's AI, but it's just, or I would think about it and then forget it. Now some things that I've forgotten about are now popping up in my algorithms, right? They're now popping up in my timeline, because I'm not interested in the gossip anymore. I'm back on moving forward, because the whole thing is like people were trying to make me focus on them and what the fuck they were talking about, which is something and somebody that I am no longer that person, or no longer engaging or even interested in those activities anymore. Like a more closed off, I've always been like I said, a recluse type person. So it's not like I was the one out broadcasting all this shit. I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna take your man and like all this ratchet shit. You just like, oh, you see, I got him. I was never that fucking person. I've always been like, a private person. I do what I do with who I do it with, and then I move on. And then the number was so exaggerated. So I played around with it. I did get in my devil energy at one point, and it got me the results I actually did. It got me the answers I wanted, but not the results I wanted. How's that? So, I've cleaned up that mess. And now you just got, what's that shit? Maggots feed off trash. Basically the trash of my past. They got, a maggot infestation on it. And that's really, really just all it is to it. And, yeah, and that's just all based off gossip. It's just like, but who is this person really for this to be? Because I'm pretty sure you've encountered worse person than this person, but you seem to be so focused on this person who actually feels good to us, and she actually smells good to the Most High, right? Like clearly, there's an anointing on this person, who he or she or he, right? And I don't really bring up other people unless they're sitting right there in front of me. And if I'm going to bring you up, I'm going to bring you up to you. Like, I'm going to ask the questions, and I'm going to make the comments, the compliments, or whatever I feel like I have to say in the moment. That's going to be you. And you can reflect on it or not. I'm not really into talking about people when they're not fucking there. I don't care to do that. Like, I need you to be present. Like, if I'm a really engage in a conversation, I'll have, like I made my video about the trash in my past, right? I made videos about it because these are not people who are willing to have these conversations. So it's like, okay, cool. Video, boom, cut and dry, clear energy, Control Alt Delete, fuck on. Like you're not even in the trash bin anymore. You're in the shadow realm, right? And of course, as you go through these new cycles, right? You gotta, you know, there's still some filtration you have to do because there's still like maggots trying to, you know, you gotta sip, you know, make sure you get rid of all the trash because they go all the way to the ground with it. They're burrowed deep in it. So it's like as you clean up more and more trash, you are able to filter the maggots out, and you know, eventually you're maggot free. Maggot free is the way to be. With that said, drink plenty of water, right? Avoid the decay in your life. Keep your vibration high. Work on yourself. Learn something new, right? Just like work on you know, work on learning something new, and you know, like work on yourself. That way nobody can beauty spelling like glamour you. The more you work on yourself, focus on you, the more radiant and more self-sufficient you become. Build some skills, man. Like in anything that elevates you, that builds you as a person. Do that instead of like sitting down trying to tear somebody else down. It's sitting or standing around trying to tear someone else down. I will teach you so that you do not suffer the shame of becoming or being useless. Until next time, thank you for watching Soul Measure. Take care until the next video.